Hey there, welcome back to Obsec Tactics. Today, we've got hold of our new Deathguard codexes.
They're finally here.
Yeah, excellent. Now, no doubt you've seen on other channels who've had access to these a week early, the whole, man reads book, reviews, that kind of stuff. So we're not gonna spoon feed you that kind of stuff. What we are gonna do, something a little different. Hopefully, you guys are gonna find this really interesting. We're gonna be rating just the plague companies today, but we'll kind of hopefully do more of these for the rest of the stuff in the book, data sheets, etc. We're going to rate these out of 15 today, and that will be based on 5 points for their stratagem, their warlord trait, contagion, and their relic. So hopefully by the end of it, you'll have a bit of an idea what are going to be the better ones and maybe the not so good ones.
Yeah, and these scores that we're giving the plague companies, they're not to say that the highest score is necessarily the best plague company, because there are some that have got two parts of it that are amazing, and the third part is not so good.
Yeah, we found that definitely the relic lets two of the, I would say, the stronger ones down just based on this score, but we'll talk about that as we go through.
Yeah,
Because you only get access to one contagion warlord trait kind of rule thing and the extra stratagem that they get, but you can pick your relics from 6 or 7 other ones that all Death Guard can choose from. So take it with a pinch
yeah,
of salt, but hopefully you guys will enjoy the video.
yeah.
So
So, do you want to take us away with the first company, Typhus's company, the Heartbringers?
I will. So no surprise, this is based around Poxwalkers. It's called the Wrathful Dead. It's 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Harbinger's Poxwalker unit is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. Now, the important thing to note here is not failed hit, any hit roll. So you use this with the Mutant Strain stratagem, which is also 1 CP, I want to say. Yep.
Yeah,
Which is on unmodified rolls of 6 to hit, not to wound, to hit. You inflict a mortal wound in addition to any other damage, and there's no cap on that. So it's not like you're to a max of 3 mortal wounds or anything like that. The downside is you take a mortal wound, but we don't really care about that because we've got ways of bringing
yeah.
them back.
So I did the maths on this, and it works out that if you get a unit of 20 Poxwalkers into close combat, use both stratagems, and you re-roll everything in your hit roll that's not sixes, you should be getting somewhere in the region of about 15 mortal wounds onto your opponent's unit.
Yeah, it was about 12 to 15, I think it was, wasn't it? Something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. I mean,
and that's a lot of damage for a 100-point unit.
that's insane. That's honestly insane. Um, So we've given this a 4 out of 5 because if you're just looking at pure damage
Yeah,
from 2 CP strats, two 1 CP strats on a unit like Poxwalkers,
yeah.
ooh,
So a lot of people are already going to be bringing Poxwalkers. If you're playing Harbingers, you're probably bringing somewhere in the region of about 60 to 80,
mhm.
and just allowing yourself to take them by bringing Blight Lords and things in your elite slots. And
I mean,
it's a really good stratagem.
you can bring down some pretty big vehicles with that.
Yeah, I mean, those 15 mortal wounds, not accounting for the extra damage from the wound rolls that you get off of that,
Mm.
you could be taking down most dreadnoughts with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you had to take down a whole bunch of sanguinary guards because you're not worried about their 2 up save, all sorts. It's
Yeah,
powerful. There's no doubt. So we've given that a solid 4 out of 5 for that. So moving on to their contagion, it's called the Shamble Rot. While an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is within contagion range of this unit, at the start of your opponent's movement phase, roll 1d6, subtracting 1 if the enemy unit has the character keyword. On a 4 up, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and on a 6, it's d3 mortal wounds.
yeah. I don't rate this very highly.
It's okay.
It's it's some free mortal wounds, but there's so many mortal wounds in the rest of the book.
Yeah, yeah. You're definitely not short of them, are you? Let's face it.
No.
Um, we've only given it a 1.5, right? Because 1 mortal wound, unless you roll a 6, and not forget, on a 1 to 3, you don't get anything. There's no damage, right? So it's
Yeah,
pretty poor. It The only thing I do like about it, the reason it's got a 1.5 on our score instead of 1, is because I think it probably combos really well with their relic.
yeah, it combos with their relic, which we'll cover in just a moment, and we'll cover how that works.
Yeah, so let's do it now. It's called Infected Remains. Basically, you can give an objective marker within 3 inches of the bearer of this relic the contagions of Nurgle abilities. And so, if you're giving it the Shamble Rot contagion, you're effectively, I guess, getting 2 auras of this mortal wound output thing. But the sad thing is that you can't buff it. So you can't
Yeah,
get it up to a larger
so you can't
range.
you can't extend the range on it with your other
Mm.
abilities because it's not a unit in your army. You so it's a deterrent. It's going to be okay in missions like the Scouring, where you've got a middle objective that you're going to be fighting over. But
Yeah,
other than that, I don't see it having too many uses. It's a deterrent. Even combining it with the Shamble Rot, I don't think it's a big enough deterrent.
it's not. It's not enough damage to be a deterrent. I completely agree. Best case scenario, yeah, you're playing in a mission where there's one central objective. You get your character up, who's got this contagion anyway, and then you put this on the relic, and it's a once per battle one as well. It's not good
Yeah,
enough. It's not good
the
enough.
fact it takes a relic slot to be able to do this to an objective when there are so many other good relics in the book.
Yeah, so that again, we've scored it 1.5 out of 5. Pretty poor score, but that brings the Heartbringers total score up to 7 out of 15 by
Yeah,
our
so
reckoning.
and that's not to say they're a bad plague company because if you love Poxwalkers, this is probably the company for you.
Hmm.
But I don't rate their contagion or their relic.
No, me neither. So why don't you talk us through the Inexorable?
Yep. So the second company, Inexorable, their ferric miasma stratagem. I quite like this one, but it is situational. So you use this stratagem in your opponent's charge phase when an inexorable unit from your army is selected as the target of a charge. Until the end of the phase, you subtract 2 from charge rolls made from any unit that declares a charge against that unit. So when your opponent declares a charge against you, you react for 1 CP and make them need 2 additional on their charge. This is great against things that are going to be abusing deep strike charges, things like Blood Angels, Orcs with the jump. Anyone that's going to be using the deep strike charge, this is going to be great against.
Hmm. Um,
But it is situational.
yeah, so it's obviously got more play and more use against combat focused armies. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that. Or even even a a shooty army that has that quarter of its army that's dedicated to being combat based.
Yeah.
It's useful. What I really like about it is that it's in response to a charge, and it's not
Yeah.
something you
It's
have to
not at the
declare
start
at
of the
the
charge
beginning of the
phase.
phase. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really cool. So we've given that stratagem a 4 out of 5. It's solid, really
Yeah.
solid.
In the games that you use it, it's going to be super clutch. But there's going to be games where it just goes unused.
Hmm. I mean, imagine it like a big blob of what Sanguinary Guard or something like that, or Deathguard trying to make a not Deathguard, Death Company trying to make a turn one charge
Oh, yeah.
against you, and
That's,
if you can just stop that, and then you'll be in range to charge them back in your turn easily, and you'll butcher
yeah.
them. So that's really cool. 4 out of 5 for that. So going on to their contagion.
Yeah, their contagion, Ferric Blight. So, like all of the contagions, it uses up a Warlord trait. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, each time an attack is made by a friendly inexorable model against that enemy unit, increase the AP value by 1. This is really good. So it would make your bolters AP 1, it would make your storm bolters AP 1, it would make your flesh mowers AP 3, spawn AP 3.
Hmm.
It makes the bubonic axes on Blight Lords AP 3. Yeah, so there's a lot of weapons out there that are going to get to AP 1 or 2, but where it's really clutch is where it's going to take you from AP 2 to AP 3, because there's a lot of armies or units out there at the moment that are ignoring AP 1 and 2,
Hmm.
and this will push you over that bracket,
Yeah,
so they
really
won't be able
important.
to ignore you anymore.
Yeah, and it's
It,
not
it's
it.
it's basically having Space Marine doctrines on your whole army just for having them in contagion range.
Yeah, so one thing we haven't mentioned, but we're kind of assuming that everyone is aware of the flash outbreak stratagem. If
Yes.
you're not, I will just read it out to you. For 2 CP, effectively, you can take contagions from any model, and it's not just one contagion, from any model, and put it on any one of your units. So
Yeah.
what you could essentially do here, and we'll be using this example kind of as a standard through this book, is maybe a chaos spawn, something cheap like that, or maybe a bloat drone because it's got the fly ability to zoom up the board. You could advance
Yeah.
it as well if you really want to, get it deep within their lines, and then you can pop this stratagem, giving it contagion. The one we've just talked about, where you get the
Yeah.
extra AP for attacking things within that aura. So
Yeah.
you dart this guy up the board. He also, the nice thing about this stratagem, it also counts the contagion range as being 1 round ahead of what it is.
Yeah. So I've seen some people using the uh, outbreak stratagem just to increase the range of their contagions for a turn
Mm.
without putting it on an extra unit.
And then I think you can. Is it a psychic power? You can increase it again.
Yeah, there's psychic power to increase it by 6 inches.
Yeah, so you can get this up to. You can get your contagion up to 12 inches, and not just coming off your warlord. So if you bolted this up into
Yeah.
their lines, effectively everything you were shooting into them would basically be at 1 extra AP.
Yeah, I mean, it's get an enemy into contagion range, get Space Marine doctrines against it for your whole army.
Yeah, really, really good. Um,
Uh, so yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, we've decided to give this another solid 4 out of 5. The reason it didn't quite make it into that 4.5, 5 kind of territory is because there are armies out there that are doing very well at the moment that just have really nice invulnerable saves, or ways to ignore that AP 1 and 2. And then there's, I want to say, this lets this play company down, but take us through the relic.
Yeah, the Leech Spore Casket. So, an inexorable model only. Each time an enemy model is destroyed as a result of a melee attack made by the bearer, select a friendly inexorable vehicle model within 18 of the bearer. That model regains 1 lost wound, and no more than 3 wounds can be regained per turn due to this relic. So, this is the sort of thing you put on a Demon Prince or a Lord of Contagion, and you get it into close combat so that you can start healing your bloat drones.
Yeah, do you know, I would almost like this relic if it wasn't capped at 3 wounds. Um,
If it wasn't capped at 3 wounds, then it would be a good argument for taking a Man Reaper on the Lord of Contagion for the extra 5 points and running him into a Horde unit.
yeah,
Like he'll just murder 10 guardsmen, no problem.
yeah, absolutely. But as it is, it's a bit of a letdown. Sadly, we've given it 2 out of 5, so that brings the Inexorables total up to 10 out of 15, which is pretty good.
Yeah. So again, these are a really good play company. Their benefits are going to be there for you in most games. You're going to enjoy the benefits in 90% of the games you play if you play Inexorable.
Yeah, yeah. So I think they kind of, to me, on paper, they look better than 10 out of 15, but the relic lets them down a bit. Don't worry about it. There's other
Yeah.
relics you can take. There's probably relics you
Yeah.
can auto take over that. So don't worry about it. So let's discuss Mortarian's Anvil next.
Yeah.
So 1 CP stratagem. Use this stratagem in your opponent's charge phase. When an enemy unit finishes a charge move, select any number of Mortarian Anvil units in your army within 3 inches of that unit. Until the end of the phase, The selected units are eligible to perform heroic interventions as if they were characters.
Yeah, so it's a mini countercharge. It requires your opponent to have made a successful charge, and it means you have to have multiple units in that area to be able to make good use of this.
So it's really nice when you consider the stench fats relic, isn't it?
Yes.
For anyone that doesn't know, it's the old, oh, I forget the character's name now that can take it. Is it the noxious
Foul
blight?
Blight Swarm.
There you go, that one. And he has you can basically give him his old aura of you don't count as charging anymore, and you
Yeah.
don't get to fight first under any conditions. So you can buff that aura up nicely. So if they charge you, if they don't know about this, this is going to like very much probably disappoint them when you spring this trap. But you heroically intervene with whatever, and then you get to pick what fights first. Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. So we've given it a 3 out of 5. It is really good. It's only 3 inches, mind you,
Yeah.
and it's only going to really be good against combat armies.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's decent, but it's not anything to write home about.
Yeah. This next piece, however.
Yeah, this next piece is amazing. So we're going to talk about the Gloaming Bloat. This is their Warlord Trait Contagion. You get the following abilities. So enemy units within contagion range cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. And that's just the first part. Each time a model in that contagion range makes an attack, the hit roll and the wound roll can't be re-rolled.
Yeah, so no rerolls and no Overwatch. This is really big against most armies. This is the one that I'm seeing people put on Mortarion.
Yeah.
And even if they're not running Mortarion, I think there's a good argument for taking this to shut down the rerolls, let alone the Overwatch. So
Yeah.
if you're playing against a gunline army and you want to charge into them, shutting down the Overwatch is really good.
If you're a Tau player, you should be extremely worried about this. Tau
Yeah,
sect, admittedly
this
Tau
is
sect.
this is Tao's worst nightmare. If they're in contagion range, they get no rerolls from marker lights. They get no Overwatch.
Yeah. Yeah, and the what are they called? Like counter fire defense systems that allow them to re-roll or Overwatch don't work
Yep.
either. It's also pretty. So no one's okay. So let's be honest. Tau aren't in a great spot at the moment, and who knows what their new book will entail. But Ultramarines are in a good spot. They're doing really well, and this
Yeah.
is a pretty hard counter to the whole Ultramarine Gilliman Castle. You've got the defensive focus stratagem for 2CP where you can bring in 3 other units to fire Overwatch instead, and then they get the full rerolls because it's Gilliman kind of thing.
Yeah, if you're able
Shut
to
down
extend the
everything.
range on this to catch everything that would want to Overwatch, then this is just going to shut down that Ultramarine castle.
And let's face it, if you're thinking about charging them, you're kind of close to them anyway.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's really good. Solid 5 out of 5 for that. I'd love to give it more. I'd love to give it 7. It's really good. Okay, and then sadly, same old story. The relic's not that great, so it's going to hold them back with their overall score. The Warp Insect Hive, Mortarian's Anvil model only. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, you can reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll.
It's a good relic. It's just unnecessary because you're already getting rerolls from like your Lord of Contagions, your Demon Princes, things like that, and you're already getting rerolls to wound with your plague weapons.
Yeah, I mean, anyone taking a relic probably is going to be re-rolling. It's going to be hitting on 2s anyway.
Yep.
Not worried. And then wounding. It depends what you're fighting. Re-rolling a wound roll against vehicle might be nice, I guess, but
it's
over
just
the other relics.
unnecessary. Like when you're carrying plague weapons everywhere, you've probably got an Arch Contaminator in your list anyway.
Yeah,
I just think it's an unnecessary relic.
yeah,
Like, it's not one that I would choose over any of the others in the book.
yeah. There's so many better relics to take out of the standard relic page.
It's a really strong ability, but you're already getting rerolls from other sources.
Yeah. So overall, Mortarian's Anvil with 3 on the stratagem, 5 on the contagion, although I'd give it more, and 2 for the relic, comes out at 10 out of 15 again. So very, very strong. Probably stronger than 10 out of 15 kind of implies.
Yeah. Just because the relic lets it down, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's a bad one.
No, not
Like,
at all.
the rest of it is really good.
So why don't we turn the page, head on over
Yeah.
to
Onto the fourth company.
possibly our favourite, right?
This is certainly my favourite, at least from in a vacuum standpoint. So the Wretched, the fourth company, their stratagem, Sevenfold Blessings. It's a requisition stratagem, so you use it before the game. For 1 command point, you choose a Wretched Psyker from your army. So that can be a Chaos Sorcerer, that can be a Malignant Plaguecaster, that can be a Demon Prince. And
Really only taking this on one model, and we'll explain why.
yeah, that Psyker knows an additional psychic power from their discipline, which is, it's good to add the utility. It would be even better if it added a cast, but it doesn't. But the reason you'd be using this is once per psychic phase, you can re-roll a psychic test for that model. So for 1 CP, I'd be putting it on a Malignant Plaguecaster. 1 command point to give Spirit Stones to a Plaguecaster is real good.
Yeah, he's going to be. The thing is, he can cast 2, right? So statistically, most things kind of go off around the 6 or 7 mark. You're pretty likely to fail one. So being able to get your free reroll over the course of however,
and he's
long it
already
takes to
digging
kill
for
him.
7s with his ability.
Yeah, I mean, he might survive till turn 3 or 4. So it's worth like 4 CP just based on that. And then if you needed one of the other ones, if you fail both, you could still spend a CP to reroll the next one.
Yeah, but unless someone really puts some work into getting at your characters, because your death shrouds and things are about, I don't think many people are going to be taking out your Malignant Plaguecaster in fast order.
No. So we've given this a 3.5. It would get more if it allowed you to cast 1 more. It'd be probably even up to 4.5, I'd say.
Yeah.
But as it is, 3.5, it's a good strat. Definitely see it being used.
If you're playing the Wretched, you're using this every game.
Do you know what? It probably deserves a 4. Should we upgrade it? I think it probably deserves a 4.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's do that. There we go.
I mean, I have a bias. I like this company.
Yeah. Let's do it. We're giving that a 4.
And their Warlord trait next. Again, it's a good one. The Eater Plague. 1 enemy units within contagion range. Each time an attack made by a friendly Wretched model against that enemy unit, unmodified 6s to hit automatically wound.
So two things to note about this that I really like. The first one is it's not restricted by the type of thing you shoot at.
Yeah.
So you can use this to put Humpteen bolter shots into a vehicle or a monster or something like that.
Yeah.
Battle suit doesn't matter. It's not restricted by what you're shooting at, and those massive 6s you're going to go through an auto wound. Now
it's just a straight damage increase.
Yeah.
I get to wound while bypassing the wound roll.
Doesn't matter about invulnerables, none of that. It's always useful. So
yeah,
really good.
And then their relic, which is probably the thing that drew me to the Wretched as soon as I read it.
It's the way it synergizes with the stratagem, isn't it? That's what's the great thing.
So the Demon's Favor. You've got a Malignant Plaguecaster model only. The bearer's Pestilent Fallout ability is replaced with the following. So the Pestilent Fallout ability is, if you cast on a 7 or more, you do 1 mortal wound to the closest enemy unit within 12. It's replaced with Torrent of Putrefaction. Each time this model successfully manifests a psychic power, if the result of the psychic test was 7 or more, the closest enemy unit within 12 takes D3 mortal wounds. Straight damage increase. Otherwise, the closest enemy unit within 6 suffers 1. So even if you make a successful cast of, say, Miasma Pestilence on a 6, you're still getting the mortal wound that you would have done from casting a 7 without this relic.
Yeah. Now, obviously, with the free rerolls that you're getting.
Yeah, with the free rerolls that you're getting from the stratagem, and what I'm quite often using a Malignant Plaguecast for is I'll use him to cast Miasma over onto Mortarion, and then I'll smite a unit.
Yeah.
Which, if I cast both of those on a 7 or more, I'm now doing 3d3 mortal wounds to the closest enemy unit.
Yeah. It's great. And you've got a free reroll for that. So overall, we give the Wretched 4, because we upgraded it mid-video, because that's how we roll.
Yeah.
We give it 4 out of 5 for the Sevenfold Blessing stratagem. 4 for the Contagion, because auto wounding on 6s is just great.
Yeah.
And the Relic is a 4 as well. So
Yeah,
that's 12 overall. 12 out of 15.
It's a really strong Plague Company, and just in a vacuum of looking at the Plague Companies, like without taking anything else into account, it's strong.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So
you're going to use all 3 parts of that Plague Company.
Yeah, which is even nicer. Yeah. So let's talk about Poxmongers next.
Your old favourite from 8th.
Yeah, the Ironclot Furnace has taken a beating under the nerf hammer, I'm afraid to say, ladies and gents. Let's do it. So, Bilious Blood Rush. I love the name. It's 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Poxmonger's Demon Engine unit from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit can make attacks with blast weapons against units with engagement range. This is nice. Each time a ranged attack is made by a model in that unit against an enemy that's within engagement range, add 1 to their hit roll. So it's worth noting straight away that Deathguard vehicles already ignore the -1 for firing heavy weapons in combat, and now you're adding 1 on top of that. So most of them now.
So this will make a Plague Burst Crawler hit on 2s shooting into combat with its Plague Burst Mortar and its Entropy Cannons.
Yeah. So also, if you had 3 Mythic Blight Haulers, they're multi-melters and missile launchers are then hitting on 2s in combat.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's a strong stratagem. The units that I personally would take, things like the Blight Hall, the Plague Burst Crawlers. If you're having to use this on a Plague Burst Crawler, something's already gone wrong.
Yeah. I guess it's maybe nice if someone tries to get in and tie up your Defiler as well, but I mean, they won't be doing it for long because Defiler's pretty good in combat. So it's okay. Sadly, we've rated this at a 2.5 out of 5. Maybe it deserves a 3, but I'm not going to give it to them. It's okay.
It's a strong one, but unless you're doing it on Blight Haulers, most of the units you're doing it on, something's already gone wrong.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Warlord trait, the Contagion, the Sanguious Flux. While
I don't like this.
Oh God, is this one? I just realised which one it is. This is terrible. This is awful. The Sanguious Flux, I've forgotten which one this was. So, do you want to hear it? You get 2 whole benefits, guys. First of all, if they're in contagion range, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that enemy unit. A whole 1.
Yep, so -1 leadership aura. Okay.
But don't worry, on top of that, you're getting subtract 1 from combat attrition tests.
Yep, which, I mean...
That's so bad!
Space Marines straight up ignore it.
Yep.
And a lot of people are playing MSU at the moment, so having -1 leadership is still not going to make them fail a leadership test.
It's so bad. So we've given it 1.5. And the only reason it gets that half is because you've got a secondary that's based on making people run away. But guess what? This isn't going to help that much. So
Yeah,
it probably even just deserves a 1. But
I. It's so bad.
it's so bad. And so let's just move on. So I really don't want to talk about that one anymore. It's just terrible. The Ironclot Furnace is still in the game. However, like I said, it's taken a big hit with the nerf hammer. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Poxwalker's Demon Engine unit within 6 of the bearer. Until the start of your next command phase, models in that unit have a 4-up save. So as far as I can see, this is pretty much aimed at your Mythic Blight Haulers because you can take them in 3. That's how you
Yeah,
get some efficiency out of them. And
yeah.
I
You
would
take.
say if I was going to use this in like a larger context, your 3 Mythic Blight Haulers go up first because you've got the stratagem to shoot better even if they're in combat, right? They've got the 4-up
Yeah,
invuln, and then you put Cloud of Flies on a big blood of like Blight Lords or Plague Marines or whatever that's sat behind them, that are giving lookout search or the characters nearby, and that means that all 3 of those 4-up invuln Mythic Blight Haulers have to be dealt with first.
yeah. So the Poxmongers, they're very specific,
Mm.
and the times that they're going to be good, I think, is if you're intending to take blight haulers, and the rest of your army is just strictly what's in the book. So you, apart from on your blight haulers, you're not really getting an army-wide bonus with the Poxmongers.
Yeah. I'm not a fan, but I still like the Ironclad Furnace. I love the idea of giving 3 Mythic Blight Haulers a 4-up. But that
Yeah,
being said, the stratagem we've decided to give, being excellent at shooting whilst in combat, a 2.5, purely because units of 3 Mythic Blight Haulers exist. The Contagion, terrible. 1.5, although it really deserves to be 1. And then the Relic, 3.5. It's still good. It's not ridiculously overpowered like it used to be, but it's still good. 3.5.
if you're still looking to get an aura of 4-up invulnerables on your demon engines, you can take a patrol detachment of, say, word bearers with cursed earth on a master of possessions.
Yeah, better way of doing it, isn't it? Be interesting to see if that's still around when they get their codex.
Yeah.
So 7.5 for the Poxmongers, and then
So we've got the Sixth Company. This
yeah,
is one that I've been seeing a lot of online. So the ferryman. We've got a 1 CP stratagem on droning wings. Use the stratagem in your command phase. Select one ferryman fetid Virion model from your army.
sorry,
Then select.
just to interject, if anyone doesn't know, the fetid Virion models are the elite slot characters for the Deathguard.
Yeah. Then you select one of that model's aura abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, add 6 inches to the range of that model's aura ability to a maximum of 12. So at worst, this increases your contagion range by 6 inches. There are some serious combos with this to give a 12-inch aura to your Plague Surgeon,
Yep.
giving you a feel no pain 6-up to basically your whole army at that point. And I've seen a lot of talk about using this on a Foul Blight spawn with the Vats relic.
Here we go.
So the Vats relic gives him a 6-inch aura of no one counts as charging and everyone loses fight first. Remember, not counting as charging stops shock assault as well for Space Marines.
Yeah, Outriders lose those 2 extra attacks they'd get.
Yeah. And this can make that a 12-inch aura from one dude.
Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah. This is probably the best one in the book, I'd say, for the stratagems for the play companies.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be
Solid.
tempted to use this stratagem every turn.
Yeah, so solid 4 out of 5. The only reason we didn't give it the 5 is there are still armies out there that aren't too bothered about getting into combat with you that much.
Well, even those armies, you can use it to spread your Plague Surgeon.
Yeah, that's actually very true. Yeah, so it is really, really good. Um, yeah, I think this is. Do you know what? Should we do it? Should we bump it up to a 5? I think we should. Let's do it. Yeah. So that stratagem, we're going to give a 5 out of 5 to. Really, really good.
Yeah,
And
and
then the
then
contagion.
on to their warlord trait, the contagion, the droning. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, at the start of your opponent's enemy movement phase, halve that enemy's move characteristic until the end of the phase. So this is big. This is the other one that I think you'll see on Mortarion against armies that don't use rerolls, like Harlequins, because suddenly taking them from a 16-inch move down to an 8-inch move on their transports just for
Oh,
being within
trans
aura range.
transports will go down from 22 inches to 11.
No, they're so it doesn't halve their advance; it halves their move characteristic.
Oh, I see. I see. Right,
So
right,
they'll go down to 14.
right. Okay.
Um, but that's huge for several reasons. Like if you're within contagion range of Mortarion or anyone with this, and you're trying to run away, like I've seen people use this to lock their opponent into their own deployment zone just by having a fast unit fly up the board, spread this aura with the outbreak stratagem, and suddenly their opponent can't move out of their deployment zone.
Yeah, this is wonderful, especially when you've got missions at the moment which are solely based. I won't say solely because you've got the secondaries, but largely based on board control. If you can
Yeah,
slow them out down and make them kind of fight your units at the edge of their deployment zone while you sit on all the tasty objectives, brilliant, just brilliant.
yeah. I've had one opponent in a test game on Tabletop Simulator. They used it was a Hellblade, I think, one of the Chaos Forge World flyers.
Do they get play companies? Do you have to have it with that?
Yeah, it gets the play company.
It does. Wow, nice.
So they flew that up right into my deployment zone, used the outbreak stratagem, and just shut my movement down from my first turn.
Was that list also running Militarian?
Yes, it was.
So he got all the contagions then.
Yeah, so he used Mortarion to cast the power that increases the contagion range by 6 inches onto the Hell Talon as well.
Nice.
So in the first turn, he had a 10-inch aura.
Brutally good. So good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You'll see this and you'll love it, and or you'll be against it and you'll hate it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's not go on too much about that. Why don't you tell us about the relic?
Yeah, so I like this relic. You don't.
I hate it.
So it's the Ferryman's Scythe, a ferryman model equipped with a Man Reaper only. So this is your Death Shroud champion or a
Lord of
Lord of
Contagion.
Contagion with Man Reaper and Orb upgrade. And it's got the same attack profile as the normal Man Reaper, but the benefit that it gets is that on the Scythe attack, instead of making 2 hit rolls for every attack, you make 3.
Hmm.
So on both of those models, it's an extra 5 attacks on sweep.
This is the exact same profile. So it's 3 strength, 3 AP, 2 damage for the powerful profile, and for the one where you'd actually get any difference out of the relic to the normal weapon, you'd have to use the ability, which is +1 strength, -1 AP, 1 damage.
Yeah.
Now, there is, and I'm going to go over to the relics section here and just read out to you. It's called the Reaper of Glorious Entropy. It doesn't have a sweeping attack, so that's the downside to it. However, it's ×2 strength. Boom. It's -3 AP and a flat 3 damage. And here's the real nice thing. 2, in fact. On 6s, you get mortal wounds. That's pretty cool. And that is to wound. 6 is to wound, get a mortal wound. However, It doesn't mention at any point here that you get a -1 to hit. That's really
Yeah,
nice.
I see the argument for the increased damage coming from the strike attack.
Mhm.
But if you're going into a horde unit, say, I'll use guardsmen as an example again, or a unit that you just need more attacks rather than better quality attacks. So
Harlequins, yeah.
yeah, this is going to be good because it turns your 5 attacks, which with the normal scythe attack would have gone to 10. You're now getting 15 attacks from a Lord of Contagion.
We couldn't come to an agreement on this, and we won't take up the whole video talking about it. But for me, it's a 1.5. I'd love to give it more, but I can just. There's so many better relics. All right, then. So let's crack on with Mortarian's Chosen Sons then. Last one. These guys are the Plague Brewers. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. When Mortarian's Chosen Sons unit from your army is selected to shoot, until the end of the phase, Plague Belchers, Plague Spurt Gauntlets, and Plague Spewers in that unit are equipped with have a damage characteristic of 2.
Yeah, so it's not terrible because you're going to use it on a unit of Death Shrouds with Death Gauntlets that are making Primaris Marines toughness 3 with contagion range,
Mhm.
auto hitting with damage 2 flamers.
Yeah, yeah, and because they're plague weapons, you're rerolling 1s to wound anyway as well. And if
Yeah.
you've got your Arch Contaminator, you're rerolling all wounds. It's nice. It's nice.
But it's reliant on your opponent having 2 wound models that are close enough for you to get. I mean, you could use an additional command point to make those Plague Spurt Gauntlets an 18-inch range because they're plague weapons.
Yep.
But then you're not getting your opponent in contagion range and you're strength 3.
Yeah, yeah. It's unless you're using it on Death Shrouds, it's a no go. If
In
you could
our
take
opinion,
if you could take bloat drones in units of 3, sure. All right. Now
yeah,
I'm interested.
in our opinion, we don't think this is going to be used on anything but Death Shrouds.
Yeah, and I
And
can't
that's
see people taking committing themselves to an entire plague company if this is what you're selling.
yeah, I mean, most armies are taking Death Shrouds, so this would have use in most army lists.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you know what? If we're gonna start to look back through some of the other
it's
stratagems and stuff,
it's very matchup specific.
yeah, you're having to contend with stuff like the Wretched and the Ferryman.
Yeah.
No, so the Nurgle's Fruit is the Contagion. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, each time an attack is made by a friendly Mortarian's Chosen Sons model against that unit, the target does not receive the benefits of cover against that attack.
Yeah.
So that's
So
the save and the hit modifier, isn't it?
yeah. So this is a middle of the pack contagion for me. It's really good on boards that have got good terrain. It's really bad on maps that don't.
Yeah, yeah. Or I guess if you're, I forget the Space Marine one that. Who is it that if they stand still counts as being in cover? Is that Raven Guard?
Yeah, so it would negate any of those effects.
Yeah, there's one of the Tyranid ones. I want to say Jormungandr gets that. So
Yeah.
if there are any of these ones, Shroud Psalm as well for
Yeah, it would affect
effect.
Shroud's Arm.
So actually, it's got some
Yeah,
nice
so there are
applications.
some army effects that you'd be negating, but for the most part, it's going to be good on boards with good terrain. And if your board doesn't have good terrain, it's just going to be superfluous.
The relic now.
This would be so good were it not competing with one of the best relics in the book.
I want to love this relic so much just from a lore perspective. So haven't done this for anything else in the book. I'm going to read to you the italic print here. So this is the it's plague spewer, I think it is, that is on your Foul
Yeah.
Blightspawn, right?
Yeah.
So, this gruesome weapon contains a microscopic warp portal that leads directly into the festering guts of the great unclean one, Kugath. When its nozzle is opened, it spews ferocious gouts of the demon's highly corrosive bile. So it's got a black hole to the stomach acid of a great unclean one, and then it just
It's
spews everywhere.
it's a belly gun.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's 12-inch range, which can go up to 18, as we know, because it's a plague weapon. 7 shots, strength 7, -3 AP, 2 damage.
And it automatically hits.
I want to love
So,
it so much.
but it's competing with VATS because the only model you can put it on is a Foul Blight Spawn. And you're probably taking VATS on a Foul Blight Spawn. I can see use for this if you're taking 2.
Yeah. In a fun
But,
list, this is fun. Awesome.
oh yeah, it's a really strong relic, but it's competing with one of, if not in my opinion, the best relic in the book.
Yeah. And for that, we've had to mark it down severely, I'm afraid. If it wasn't competing, if it could be taken on anything or whatever, 3.5, 4 easy. But it's
Yeah.
a 2. So overall, I score Mortarian's Chosen Sons 2.5 for the stratagem, 2.5 for the contagion. It probably deserves more now I think about it, and 2 for the relic, which gives them a total of 7.
Yeah, I mean, Mortarian's Chosen Sons is not a bad plague company. It's just when you start comparing it to the others, it starts to fall over just a little bit.
Yeah.
Our scores may reflect strength in some areas, but none of these are bad plague companies.
I was actually going to go and interrupt and say, actually, I think the Poxmongers is just flat out terrible. But no, it is just their contagion. So
Yeah.
forgive me. Because Hagen is... Anyway. So, more importantly, guys at home, if you can think of anything we've missed, if you think that actually Mortarian's Chosen Sons or the Poxmongers are absolutely awesome, and here's why, tell us down below. We love to sort of interact with you guys and
Yeah,
hear your
we
thoughts.
try and reply to any comments that come in. So
Yeah. So definitely come and give us a chat. And on that note, be safe, be good to each other, and from me
and me
and Big
and
E,
Big E,
we'll see you
see you
later.
next time.